I absolutely adore my next guests, and I think you will too. They have sold their music globally. They have had millions upon millions of content views online, 290 million YouTube views to be exact. They've starred and featured on your television screens for over a decade and have also launched with gusto, I might add, into the online coaching world. I'm talking about the power couple, Mark and Tina Harris. Look, Mark and Tina are the creators of international children's group Lala, which is a big live band with 5 members, including them. Their act has made airwaves across the world. They've had television spots in a bunch of different countries. They've been on Foxtel, ABC Kids, Nickelodeon JR, the BBC, and more. Look, in this episode, Mark and Tina have really talked about how they balance it all, how they can be content creators, how they can be musicians, have their global act, teachers, you name it, these guys can do it. They've put quite a bit on their plate, but really are now focusing on their direction of mentoring and coaching services in business, camera and presenting skills, plus so much more. We're going to talk about this pivot in this episode from, being the music act into the online coaching space and explore their path to stardom, plus how they came to master their personal brands. Let's have some fun with Mark and Tina Harris. Hey there, I'm Josephine Lancuba and you're listening to Business, Arts and All That Jazz. I've been immersed in the creative business world and performing arts industry for over 20 years. I know from experience that being an artist, a creative, or running a creative business can be a tough gig, but I'm here to tell you it's possible. I went from having $0 to my name and living below the poverty line, to then living paycheck to paycheck, to finally living a life of comfort, happiness, passion, and even stability. In this podcast, I peel back the curtain and share with you the ups and downs of my journey. Plus, I tap into the minds of creative industry experts to discover their paths to success. I know you have a spark inside of you, that little voice that tells you to reach for the stars. I want to help you step into your limelight, to have the courage to live a life you dream of, a life that you design. So get ready to be entertained and inspired as we talk business, arts, and all that jazz. Hello and welcome. We have the amazing, talented duo, Mark and Tina Harris. Thank you for coming onto the show, guys.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having us.
Hey,
yeah,
Joe.
I'm excited. Now, I don't know if you remember, but it was quite a few years ago. I was a bit of a Lala's fan with my daughter. She was only like 3 years old, and we went to a couple of your concerts actually. And there was one particular show. My daughter had a blast, but at the end she started crying because there was a lineup to meet Tina, and she was desperate to meet you, Tina. And it was quite funny because you were so amazing, and I'll never forget it. And you saw her in tears, and you called her over to the front of the line, and you sat on your lap, and you gave her the biggest cuddle. So, it must be second nature to you, I reckon, working with kids to have like that sort of response. Yeah.
Oh, look, I just think if a little one is going to sit there and, they're so excited because they've expended all that energy jumping and dancing and I know mum's frazzled and they get to that point where it just all becomes too much and they just get all very emotional.
I
So,
know.
it happens. So, yeah, no, I do remember that, Joe. That's
You
so
do?
funny.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I do.
Didn't know if you did, but no, it was really beautiful. But that's how I remembered you guys.
North's Leagues, wasn't it? I think I remember that as well.
No doubt. That was it. It was in Victoria.
I love it. Now, for anyone that doesn't know you guys, I see Mark. I mean, you guys have obviously done a lot in your span of your careers. I mean, you've got the Lalas, big live band, children's music. We've also got, you're into the coaching and the mentoring, and you've just moved into that space, which we're going to talk about later. But I want to start with, the way I see you guys is Mark is the tech guy, the IT dude, obviously a musician as well. And then Tina's like the star of the relationship.
Yeah,
Tell me how you see yourselves. Like, how does that dynamic work?
Well, I always say that I'm color and movement. So I'm the kind of big picture strategy design person.
Yeah.
And Mark is the detail, technical.
Realize the big plans with the nitty gritty that gets it done.
Yeah. So together, I mean, we're a bit yin and yang in that way, that we have a similar passion and goal and vision, but we have different areas of expertise, and most of the time that works quite well.
I would say that Tina is your classic entrepreneur. She has big ideas and wants to achieve great things, but doesn't have a great deal of patience for the humdrum of the little details that make it all work.
I hate spreadsheets, but I know they're important.
And luckily, I'm quite the opposite. I mean, I would. If I wasn't married to Tina, I would totally be a company guy in a day job, clocking on and clocking off and just taking care of the tasks. And in this case, my day job is Tina, and she says, do this. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I sit down and I get the job done,
But, you wouldn't have it any other way, right?
No, not at all.
No, although, Joe, I did just spend 4 days away in Lura. It was a kind of a meditative break so that I could do some planning for 2022. And I have to say, being on my own for 4 days, it was so luxurious. It was fantastic. I love you. I
know. And it's great because I have sessions sitting around all day with big broadsheets of paper. I can't think of anything more boring. Just tell me what to do and I'll go and do it.
Yeah. I love that. I think it's really important to carve out space for thinking, especially in this day and age. It's so busy with all the things that we're meant to be doing, I put that in inverted commas. But yeah, I think carving out time is absolutely amazing. I've actually never done that. So I'm going to, but I'm still trudging through with the young kids, where I think you've got older kids now. Yeah,
I'm straight. Yeah, mine are user friendly now. They're 16 and 18. So.
Oh, nice. How did you guys start working together? Like, how did you actually come together? Can you tell me that backstory, actually? Are we allowed to know how you guys met in the first place?
Sure.
Do you want me to have a go?
You have a go.
Sure. I finished school and went straight into the Conservatory of Music to study jazz double bass playing. Tina had finished school and done a Bachelor of Creative Arts as an actor-singer at Wollongong Uni, but her voice tended more towards the operatic, and so she auditioned for the Conservatorium's opera school and got in, and came in the year after I started. And I remember seeing this just incredibly gorgeous Eurasian girl floating around and singing like an angel in the corridors, and thought, yeah, in your dreams, pal. And that was kind of the end of it at the beginning. And then we had these harbour cruises at the Conservatorium, and Tina's friend, who wasn't at the con, came along to the harbour cruise and was trying to crack onto me on the boat. So,
oh, nice.
But I wasn't into her at all. I knew that she was hanging out with Tina, and that was the prize. So I swindled my way into a late night coffee down at Circular Quay.
I will add that at the time I was 21, and I thought I was very glamorous and very cool getting into the opera school, and Mark was 19 and he was a dirty jazz boy. And so I was not interested in him at all. So he's very persistent, Mark Harris.
That's right.
That's hilarious. I mean, look, you guys obviously have a beautiful story where you guys met and you've been together ever since, and you've collaborated, and you're both artists, and it's all magic, right? We'll call you the power couple from here on. What do you think?
Power couple.
At very selected moments.
I'm trying to think of it. Brangelina. What are we going to call you guys?
Oh gosh.
Enoch.
Tark? No, it doesn't work, does it? It's not quite the same. But I'd love to know, what was your first collaborative music project? So obviously you've had this relationship in this music space. You've then You've come together. There's this beautiful union. Now you guys are working together, and you created the Lalas, for example. Was that your first music collaboration, or were you guys working together before that? Before you created the Lalas?
We'd done a little bit of work together, but probably not what people would think when they think of us and who we are now. Mark was he's a great singer and was very attracted to opera. And so he also auditioned for the opera school at the Conservatorium and was accepted. And after he finished his Bachelor of Jazz, started the opera school. And so we did a little bit of international travel singing together classically. But Mark was,
that was our first musical thing together.
Very bitchy opera singer. He was just dreadful. And so,
well, that's not very nice.
What's the industry for it? If you can't be a bitch in opera, you can't be a bitch.
It was very funny. And so it got to the point where I was like, I don't like you as an opera singer. You were much nicer as a bass player. And it was interesting. It was kind of like the universe conspired, and he was offered this opportunity to go back and do a postgraduate study in double bass and jazz. And that's kind of what brought him full circle back to playing jazz music. And Lala really was born out of a love of jazz and classical and world gypsy music. And so it's really all those years of study and the music that we were really kind of living in.
And also the reason to come together to do a musical collaboration really came from after we came back from living overseas together. We had our kids, and Tina didn't really want to re-enter the main stage opera world. It's pretty grueling and bitchy. And a friend encouraged her to start a small music school business under the Kinder Music brand, teaching music and movement to preschool age children and their families. And so that was our first business collaboration. So we started a school. It became 4 schools. We had over 200 families a week coming all around Sydney to our venues, and I would administrate the school and Tina would teach the classes. We started having, employee teachers coming and doing as well. There was lots of merchandise management, etc. And it was out of Tina teaching those classes and me occasionally turning up with my bass and playing a few songs with Tina that a bunch of the people said, you guys are so great performing for the kids. You should do like a show like the Wiggles. You'd be so great. We come and see you on tour for sure. We were like, oh yeah, our schools only operate during school terms, so there are these breaks in the middle that we could book a theatre and do a show and record a CD, sell some CDs. It sounds like a good idea. And so that was in 2008 when we were still running the Kinder Music School. It was called Lala's Music Place by then. That we wrote and recorded an album together, and then booked the Seymour Centre in Sydney to do some kind of prom style concerts.
And I think that's what makes it really special to the Lala brand, because it's not just about, music videos and great tunes. It's also about that educational piece about learning how to, introducing kids to instruments and music.
That's exactly
right.
Yeah. So I love that aspect. I mean, when it comes to, so you've obviously got a few different things going on. You've got the music, you've got the online coaching, you've got so many things. I can't even think off the top of my head. It feels like there's a few different pods, teaching as well. So where does your passion really lie? Like, is there one part of those aspects, the teaching, the online coaching to businesses, or the music creation? Like, where is that real passion, or what is that forefront piece?
Mark and I are a little bit different in where our passions lie, and for me it's really Lala's been a beautiful journey to get to where we are now, and where I find that I'm being led and really enjoying the work is really helping women in business become more visible, and really whether that's making videos to share their message or their branding or their story, or whether it's helping them through business mentoring. That's where my main focus is at the moment. But I think for Mark, he's just about to start a 12-month tour with a brand new musical. What's it called?
Girl from the North Country. It's a Broadway show based on the music of Bob Dylan. That's opening for Sydney Festival and then touring around the country and to New Zealand. So for me, I've kind of got three passions, I think. One of them is certainly performing. I trained to be a musician. I was performing in music theatre and in orchestras and bands all the way through school. Being on a stage with an instrument in my hand or a mic and singing is definitely the kind of lifelong passion. I'm definitely an extrovert.
He's a showman.
But the other side is that my passion is learning anything. So particularly, it comes across, it manifests as a tech thing. I love software. I love gadgets. I love cameras. I love microphones. I love
being
gear.
a geek. You like being a geek.
And through decades of teaching people, to be a musician in Australia, you pretty much have to teach your instrument to get by. You need that kind of day work to support yourself. And I was a reluctant teacher at the beginning. It used to drive me crazy and I had no technique. I didn't really know what I was doing. But over the years, I've developed a real love for teaching, a real love for nurturing people in their, but really meaningfully. Like, it's not, at the beginning it was just for cash, like I would teach just to get some money.
Yeah.
Now it's quite the opposite. I teach at a school, the school that my kids went to, really because I wanted to teach my daughter to play the bass. And I said, look, if I'm there, let me offer my services, So teaching, learning, performance.
Yeah. So that real performance and education piece. Yeah, I love that. I mean, you both have really embraced the virtual space, and not just in, your coaching, but also in your music and its presentation. I've got here that you have over 300,000 YouTube subscribers and you've had millions upon millions of views. I think you mentioned it was like 290 million views so far. I mean, that's insane. And I think, in an era where people want to be Insta famous or YouTube stars, this is not an accident, what you guys have created. Like, what's your take on that about, viral videos and having some, consuming content that is intentional for high consumption? Like, what's your take on that?
Look, I think that there is an absolute place for viral videos, and I think there is an absolute place for videos that really go out there and broadcast what your brand and your reach is. I absolutely believe that. But I think that it's very important for anyone who's creating that kind of content to have a business strategy, to have a funnel, to have a method, so that those millions of people that you're reaching can actually find you, work with you. You can actually take them from being out there in the ether onto an email list, onto buy a product, onto streaming music download, onto some other way that they're having some kind of touch point where you're really connecting with them. But most importantly, you're setting yourself up so that you've got a business and an income from it. I think there are too many broke influencers out there who have got millions and millions of followers and views, but can't sell a t-shirt. So I think it's really important to have a really succinct and solid business strategy set up, so that and on the flip side of it, to have a successful business online these days, you don't need to have 1 million Instagram followers. You can have 1,000 Instagram followers and still, you can have 1,000 people on your mailing list and still have a 6-figure business. Like, it's possible. You just need to be reaching the right kind of people.
I find that really interesting too, because like I said, people wanting to get this instant success, and they think, oh, well, that person did it, so I can do it too. But really, it's about the strategy behind it. And like you said, that funneling, I love that, because it's true. I guess when you see those influencers online with millions of followers, you would assume that they're generating some sort of income from that. But what you're saying is possibly not.
That's right. Yeah.
I think the other thing is that in this kind of virtual space, it's very easy to imagine that content creation is quite simple. It looks like someone just grabs out a phone and they look fantastic on the camera and they post a video and lots of people watch it. But I know because we've worked together now for a while, Joe. But the actual shooting is the smallest part. The conceptualizing and planning, the pre-production, getting your gear and your location and the weather and everything right, takes like 5 times longer than the shoot. Then you shoot it, and then you've got to post-produce it and get it ready to post somewhere, and that takes 10 times as long as it takes to shoot. So, while
I'm trying not to crack up. I'll tell you why in a sec. Keep going. I love it. Keep going.
essentially this idea of kind of creating viral videos being something that you can just kind of stumble into without, persistence, skill, lots of hard work, time and resources is just a myth. It's just, maybe there are some people who just fluke into something that's a really gimmick-based thing, but the people who are in it for the long term, it's a grind. There's a lot of work to do to make it work. But it's a fun grind. I love it.
Yeah, but in and this is why Marka and I are so yin and yang with this stuff is that while there is a lot of planning and consistency and work to set up a business structure like this, you can actually do a number of things to give your content the best chance of success. And that really comes down to things like choosing trending topics, choosing things that are actually trending on. So, for example, at the moment, the way things are working on social media is you find a trend on TikTok, you create that video on TikTok, then you take it across to Instagram, because Instagram is 2 to 3 weeks behind TikTok. And, there are just simple strategies like that you can really give your social media a boost if you're following the trends and doing the right things with the right kind of content.
Yeah. And I'll just tell you quickly why I was having a cackle to myself then. It's because I did your Courage on Camera course not too long ago, and I went to film my first video, and I've filmed stuff for years. I've worked as an actor and a TV presenter and all the things. And, I've always just filmed super basic off my phone and never really did any sort of lighting or thought about dirty frames, as you put it, and all the things. And honestly, it took me hours to do this stupid little 5-minute video because I was trying to set up my teleprompter and it wasn't working. And it's like, it was such a process. And I thought, oh my God, what have I signed up to here? But then it's all about getting used to it, right? Like now I know how to use the teleprompter. I love the teleprompter, by the way. It's like my favorite best friend. And all that stuff. But yeah, absolutely. There's so much that goes into it. And like you said, the filming is just the fraction of the work. Then there's the editing and that post-production stuff.
That's right.
And of course, you can put as much effort as you want to into it. I guess you get out what you put in, right?
Yeah.
But how important is the quality, do you think? How important is the quality of filming when it comes to getting high consumption on your content online?
I think it depends on the platform.
Absolutely, 100%.
And as far as quality goes, the most important thing is audio. The audio quality is above the picture quality. We'll forgive bad picture, but we won't forgive bad audio. So number one is make sure that your audio is great.
The next kind of key thing to do with quality would be lighting. Nothing makes video look more amateur than not considering the lighting and what you can do with shadows and color of light and intensity of light and shininess on your face and those kind of things. And it's actually, it is a daunting thing to get into when you start talking about key lights and fill lights and hair lights and intensity, direction and quality and all the kind of categories. But it's not rocket science. There are some simple things to follow, and if you do them, your skin and your face will look great, and you'll be lit properly.
And just buying a good size, like a pizza box size ring light,
is a great place to start.
Yeah, it can make the world of difference. And that's a really
I think that's where I started. I just got myself a ring light and a little microphone, like my lapel that I'm wearing now, and that was like basic 101, get started. And then you keep creeping up after that. You're like, ooh, I'm going to get this, and ooh, I might buy that. But you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? Even more than the quality of the production, people like me get really hung up on the quality of production because we like gear and we really notice the fine detail in things, but a lot of people don't. It's really important that the content itself, the writing and the performance, the presentation is on point, because that's actually that's what you remember. You don't remember that the picture was grainy or the light was a bit dim or the audio was a bit crackly. You won't remember that because the audio, if it's really bad audio, you do. But in general, there are a lot of production things you forgive if the performer is engaging and the message is important. So that's your pre-production, when you're developing what you're going to make, even if that's just a quick thought while you're driving, I'm going to do this reel today. If you clearly think about it and you ask yourself, is this actually engaging? Is anyone actually going to want to consume this content? Because if you just get on and waffle and rave, then that's the first bad bit about your video. and it's the ultimate bad bit.
And isn't it like the first 3 seconds or something is when you grab them, or if you don't?
Yep. Very important. First.
Yeah. I also noticed recently that you launched an online platform for your Lala brand, and it looks like Netflix for Lala. It's pretty phenomenal. I'm assuming you were the mastermind behind that, Mark. Tell everyone about that. It's like, let's explain what I'm talking about here, because I'm not wording it very well, and why you decided to create this virtual space for your brand.
You would say that Tina is the mastermind, so I'll let her go with this
one. Oh, really? So you made it happen.
Mark built it.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, it is exactly that. We wanted to create a Lala Netflix, and we've got 13 years of content. We've been making videos and TV shows for the last 13 years, and we wanted to have a platform where we could have everything all together. And we also wanted to create a whole lot of educational resources. And this is smack bang in the middle of COVID. So parents are at home, everybody's homeschooling, and I'd had these ideas for years of creating a book. And so I'd been making all these different worksheets and
poems, recipes,
and activities and all sorts of things.
Music.
And I thought, well, why don't we put them all together and make all of these downloads and things that parents can use at home, but teachers can use in the classroom, and make it this one-stop place for Lala. And so we created the Stripy Sock Club online.
Yeah, while we're broadcast on the ABC daily, they'll only be broadcasting one series at a time, and we've got a lot of content and a lot of stuff that's not television but still is fantastic viewing. And DVDs are gone. We can't send somebody to our online shop or to Kmart or whatever and find all of our content and be a collector anymore. These days, the distribution method is online, and so luckily there are some platforms out there that can help you host your video. Not outrageously expensive. It's not. I wouldn't say it's super cheap, but it's pretty easy. And so we were just. It's really been a great place for us to remember all of the stuff that we've made and put it all together in one place. Wow, look how much stuff we've got.
But it's also, I think what's nice is we created a closed Facebook group that goes along with the platform. And so the people who join the membership site, they're also in the closed Facebook group. And so we can actually go in, and we do this, quite regularly. We go in and we'll do performances inside the closed Facebook group, and we film them, and we professionally film them on a green screen, and we composite in the Stripy Sock Club world behind us, and we make extra bits of content, and they're actually writing in live. We're talking to them during the show, and it makes it a real 360 kind of experience
for kids
for children.
Can print out the printouts and colour things in, and they take photos and upload those to the Facebook group so we can comment. So
it's great. It's really fun.
It's really fun.
I think that's an amazing idea, having that membership model as well, because like you said, there's no more DVDs. You don't sell hard copy CDs. People can grab your stuff off YouTube, and you make a couple of cents off whatever you do on YouTube. So where does your revenue come from? So that's a really savvy idea. But obviously you guys have built up this fan base for over a decade. I mean, you've been on television, you've done all of these things. So what about someone who maybe doesn't have that background? Do you think that having a membership model or a membership site for somebody who has a brand or a group or an act or whatever, if that model would work for someone who doesn't have your extensive history and fan base?
I think that it really comes down to the amount of content you have when you're talking about a membership site.
Yep.
So if you're starting from scratch and you don't have a back catalogue of content, then I'd maybe look at a platform like Patreon, where you can have your fan base grow with you and help support your production of content as you go. Or another strategy that I like to help my students with is creating smaller online courses or products and building out a number of those. So you're actually selling your small courses and you're getting income in from those straight away. And then when you get to, I don't know, 4 or 5 courses, or you've got a catalog of stuff, then you can pop it under a membership umbrella. I think the really hard thing is starting a membership site from ground zero. That's something we really don't advise people to do, because then you end up you have to keep feeding the membership beast.
Yeah, so I would say the other side of that is that having a membership site requires consistent content creation. And presumably, if you don't have a backlog of content, you're not experienced in content creation, and each piece of content is going to take you a really long time to get to the stage.
Yeah, for the 5 people paying $20 a month. Yeah. It would become quite an expensive waste of time, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing with membership sites is sometimes people start a membership site and they're not actually really clear about who their key demographic is, who their key avatar is, and they think that if they make an umbrella kind of generalist membership site that they'll just be able to sell it to every man and his dog, and it doesn't work that way. You're much better off to niche your membership site down and to have a really clear target market. A great example of some friends of ours who have done this really well, Heaven and Sarah, they started with a YouTube channel and they fed the YouTube channel with a lot of content, but it didn't do what they wanted it to do, and they wanted to monetize the content. So they created, rather than having content that was for generally mums and dads, they took the content and they specialized it and they made it very niche, and it was for school teachers and
literacy, numeracy,
exactly,
language skills.
And that site is doing very well because now they have a very clean, clear objective. They know who they're speaking to, who they're targeting, and it's doing really well.
And they're not needing to chase the millions and millions of views you need on YouTube to generate ad rev. They have a fair but well-priced monthly membership, and so I have to say they have a pretty strong subscriber base now that has really turned it into a solid business. Now, it's nowhere near the numbers that a Stan or a Netflix or whatever would have, but they're the general platforms, and they have the millions of dollars of backings that they can license all of the world's content. And so if you're going to try and do a general site, that's what you're up against, and you can't compete against that. So if you're going to get into that sort of video offering space, you have to be niche. I mean, really.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if it was a COVID thing or if it was a lockdown thing, but you guys got very busy over the last couple of years.
Yep.
I mean, from what I could see, I think it was over a year ago, actually, when I noticed, Tina, actually, you were promoting yourself as a coach online. So, you know, was that something, and as an industry mentor, and this was different to the Tina that I knew of, the artist Tina. So tell me how that pivot came about. Was it a COVID-inspired lockdown thing, or what made you shift gears from being the artist into the business coach, I suppose?
I think I've been mentoring and helping people for years, and I think when the TV shows started to get they started to have a lot of traction and a lot of following. What happened was a lot of women in business, mums in business, would reach out to me and say, hey, I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing with your touring and your merchandise and all of that work. I'm working in this space. I'm wondering, would you have a look at my business? Would you be able to give me some advice? And so I was doing the endless coffee catch up, where someone would say, hi, do you mind if we catch up for a coffee? I'd love to kind of pick your brain. Or I'd get a phone call and I'd be on the phone for, an hour or 2 hours, and Mark's like, who are you talking to? I'm like, I'm just helping out this lady. I met her. She's so sweet. I just want to. And so
were these unpaid sessions or paid sessions?
They were all unpaid. And it got to the point where it was starting to take up quite a bit of the week.
Yeah.
And at that time, I always have been really great friends and been really connected in the Oz Mumpreneur network. And I was talking to Peace and Katie, and they're like, Tina, for goodness sake, will you just start charging for your time? And I'm like, oh, I don't really want to charge people.
The funny thing is that you've always been the first to reach out for paid mentoring and business coaching for yourself. Like Tina is a coaching junkie. She has so many online courses.
I love going to coaching sessions and meeting people and going to conferences. Anyway, so I kind of fell into it. And then people started asking me if I had a program or if I had some courses, and that's kind of, it came out of the demand. The demand was there, so I decided to put something together. And then when COVID happened and all of our touring and shows were cancelled, I said to Mark, look, I know I have this community of women in business who are really keen and they need help. And, you know, especially combining our knowledge of what we've been doing in TV and video over the last, 12, 13 years, I think this is a really great opportunity for us to put together a program and to take it out there in the big wide world. So I really feel we've been kind of led by the universe in this one. It's something that we wanted to do something. We joke. We say we wanted to have a grown-up plan, something that was kind of we were going to do as we got older, and we wanted to start working with adults as well as little children. Yeah. And so COVID's kind of been the catalyst to say, this is actually the way your business is going to go in the future. And I have to say, I'm loving it. I miss the kids, but I love working with adults and really helping in this online space.
I mean, I actually really resonate with that. I think, I call it my virtual awakening, COVID. And, I work with kids. As you know, I've got my Musical Makers Club, and I have a youth agency. I've always worked with young people. And then I was craving all of this experience. I was craving working with adults. And that's exactly what I did during COVID. As you know, I joined your Courage on Camera course. I started developing my own program for people within my industry. So I do get how sometimes you need to hang up your stripy socks every now and then, and just talk adult stuff. So,
I wear them when I take the dog for a walk. And
do you really?
Yeah,
we just have so
many pairs of stripy socks.
Yeah, I love that. So obviously you guys have been super busy creating all of these amazing programs. I can see something online. It's called Business on Demand Accelerate. So you've got this Courage on Camera course, you've got Business on Demand. Like, what's the difference? What exactly are these programs about?
Me or you?
Oh, well, Courage on Camera is very much geared towards people who are interested in incorporating video content into their business model, whether it's through a YouTube channel, just product stuff on their website, social media, whatever it is.
Online courses and membership sites.
Etc. So the Courage on Camera is about the strategic and business case for why you would do that and what the opportunities are in that space. And then with me, it's more about the technical aspects of, well, how to actually then go and do it. So it's very much focused on the video industry. Business on Demand Accelerate is Tina's baby, which is really more born out of these conversations that she had pre-COVID, where people were asking her generally, how did you get your merchandising together? How did you get your touring together? How do you...
It's mentoring, really, for people in business who, and especially if they're in the online space, if they're making online courses or they're making memberships, or if they're looking at expanding their YouTube channels. So that's really what the Accelerate program is. And then we've also just launched Courage on Camera Succeed, which is our graduate program. So people who come through the Courage on Camera mastermind and they're not ready to stop working with us and they want to keep going, so they go into the Succeed program. So at the moment, that's it's lovely. It's a great way for us to stay connected with people who are just in this community that we've created, and it is an incredible community. They're just such generous, warm, loving people, and I love the fact that even inside the community, I'm seeing so many collaborations and people working together, and that's really exciting.
If I can speak for what I think is Tina's greatest skill in all of the things that she's ever done is as a connector and lateral thinker, a kind of coach of lateral thinking. So people come to Tina with, I've got this business, I sell tea towels or whatever it is, and I just don't know how to turn it into something more. And Tina's like, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? It might be a good idea if you do this. And, if you want to do that, I know this person who can do this and I can help you with that. Or you could go to this website and find that. And for me, Tina is just like this magician of connectivity and thinking outside the box.
I get that, yes, because when I messaged you, Tina, over a year ago now, I think, I don't even remember, I was looking for coaching, and I said, because I'm a coach junkie too. I love being taught by others and learning from their experiences, you know, and you just grow every time. But yeah, I reached out to you, and I came with one idea, which went to by the time I finished the course, I'd created something completely different to why I reached out to you in the first place. But it was a good decision. And I remember you telling me, are you doing this because you want to do that thing, or is it because you think you should do that thing? And that's when I went, I think it's because I think I should, but it's not really what I want to do. And so that was a really interesting turning point, even just having someone to talk to say, you know, like, do what you want to do. Don't do what you think you have to do just because that's what you've always done.
Because
so that was an interesting conversation in itself.
Yeah, when you do what you want to do, when you do what you really love, that's when your business opens up and starts to flow. It's often when we feel like we should be doing something, we get really locked in and blocked. And I have one lady that we've been working with, and we had a call with her earlier this week, and through the Courage on Camera program, she felt like she was making videos for this particular program, but then an opportunity came up, and we connected her with a very out of the box contact with our dentist. Would you believe it? She's actually a bit of a genius. She's amazing. And the two ideas sparked, and all of a sudden,
she's launched a brand new business.
She has launched a brand new business, and it is exploding. And I'm so happy for it. It's going so well.
Yeah,
it includes video, and it includes live performance.
It's all the things that she talks about, but in a completely different way. It's
really, with dentists.
Yeah,
it is.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And I think there's also, especially with creatives, sometimes, and I've learned this over the last 12 months only, you know, it's taken me a while, but sometimes it's okay to create for the sake of creating. Not everything has to be a business.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's something I've had to let go of too, that, I've created this thing and now I've got to sell it. It's like, well, no, I just enjoyed creating it. And that's not my business.
Yeah,
that's right. That's my joy, you know? So even just making, differentiating between that, I think is a big thing as well, especially for creatives, because we can get bogged down in that sometimes.
Yeah, you need to keep your flame alive, don't you?
That's right.
Yeah. Now, how do you guys find the time to make this all work? So how does this work? Do you guys get on well, or is this like, are you guys crazy together or what?
We have coffee at the beginning of the day, lots of coffee. And then usually I have lots of dark chocolate kind of midday, and then we have lots of red wine at night.
We go on a big walk run in the morning.
Yeah.
Clear our heads, get out in the world and look up at the sky, walk our silly big dog. And
you get downtime? Like, is there, how do you plan your day if there's so many pieces?
Well, I mean, I think it's what most entrepreneurs battle with is the juggle of, you know, work, life, and play, and it's what you're kind of focused on in what quadrant. And for us, we're very project based. So if we have a project that's coming out, we'll try and block off time around it so that we know that we can just focus on that one project. I'm the queen of strategy, so I like lots of balls in the air, and I'll juggle them all and I'll follow them. And so I'm usually the one who's across what's going on, and I'll be saying to Mark, hey, we need to do this, hey, we need to do this, hey, we need to do this. So I'm
often locked in a room to finish something.
Yeah.
Just finish that now. Don't do anything else, just finish that.
What sort of advice would you give to people who have an idea to launch, or have a dream of, you know, reaching a particular group of people and making an impact?
Just go for it. Just do it. I mean, I think if it's an idea that fills you with excitement and you feel that upward shift, follow your gut, because your gut and your instinct is absolutely taking you in the right direction. Find someone who is in a parallel, or someone who you can talk to who is not a family member, because the worst thing you can do is take an idea that is something that you're passionate about and is really inspirational, and you take it to a family member and they go, nah, that's not going to work.
Yeah, that's right.
So find someone who is in a space that you can, like a business mentor, like someone who you can talk to who's is a great sounding board, and find a way to make that thing happen.
Yeah, I actually recently did a solo podcast called Stop Listening to the Naysayers and Inexperienced. I totally get it. Every time you're so excited and then you go and tell someone in the family, and like, really, that sounds a bit crazy. Or you're like, oh, why do I talk to you? You obviously have no experience in this area. I don't even know why I'm taking your advice.
Yeah. My other thing is launching a beta program. And I know that you've done this as well, Jo, and know the power of it. When you've got a really great idea and you want to take it out for a test run, create something that you can do on a smaller scale and take it out to the marketplace and see if it's what people want and how you feel about sharing that product or that program. Mark and I are quite different people, so often I'll come up with an idea and I'm really passionate about it, but Mark takes a little bit longer to come around to the idea. So I'll say to him, okay, I've created this beta program or this beta workshop or masterclass. We're going to go and run the idea and see what people think. And when it goes really well, I know that Mark will be 200% on board.
It's true.
So,
yeah. And then I'll run like crazy.
And then he runs like crazy with it, but I do need to prove it to him first. So.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I was very, when I was doing your program, I was extremely resistant at first to the beta course concept. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to run it. I'm not going to do that. And then I remember the next session the following week, I said, I've decided I'm going to run a beta course. And that's what I'm actually in the throes of doing now, Talent Manager Bootcamp. And I've got like 3 beautiful members, and that's all. I only invited 4 and 3 of them said yes. And it's been the best thing. So yes, anyone listening in on this one, beta course, absolutely. If anything, it's not just an opportunity to test drive it, but it makes you get it done.
Yes.
So like now I'm like, oh, these people are relying on me. I've got to get this content up for them by next week, or I've got to do those PDF downloads. I've got to write the scripts, because if they weren't there, you could end up living on procrastination station for a few months before you even get to it, you know?
The most valuable thing that you can actually have to sell your program or your course or your offer, which is testimonials from people who have been through your beta program and love you and love what you do. And that is gold.
Yeah, I love that. So, I asked this to every guest, and I'll start with you, Mark. Who or what inspires you?
We stuck.
It's so funny. I think about these kind of questions sometimes at night, and I have these. I do, because you hear these being in interviews all the time, and I go, oh, who I would answer? I would answer this person or that person or that. And then now you're asking it to me, and I can't think who it is. Well, I mean, Tina obviously inspires me and drives me and keeps me going. She's an incredible partner in life and in business. And there's never a boring day in this household, no matter what we're doing. I mean, we have so many balls in the air that you just not a chance to get bored. Obviously, great musicians are wonderful, inspiring characters to me.
Like? You gotta have one, Mark. Come on, one. Give me one.
We listen to Brad Meldau.
Yeah, I was going to say, listen to Brad Meldau.
A jazz piano player who I had the opportunity to meet in Japan, in Tokyo, a number of years ago.
Amazing.
I'm just a super fan, So I love his journey and his skills and his kind of heart and commitment to it all. So I think great performers are mostly the ones that.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Tina? Who or what inspires you?
I'm a podcast junkie. So every morning when we take the dog for a run, I will listen to a podcast. At the moment, I'm listening to James Wedmore. I just love all of his stuff.
Okay.
He's such great lessons, and I love the way. I was listening to a podcast today that was talking about the way that we use our voice and how it really the way that we present and the way that we use the inflection, and when we wait and when we have spaces when we're presenting and talking, how that really helps to communicate your message with your audience member. And I thought, wow, that's such a passionate thing. I love it. Anyway, so that's great. And I'm very inspired by my beautiful friend Shannon, who runs Bounce Patrol. She's a really dear friend of ours. She has the #1 YouTube channel coming out of Australia, and there is nothing that woman doesn't know about YouTube or, online music. And so I find her really inspirational. But yeah, I'm a bit like Mark. I just love learning. So I'm always listening and learning.
Yeah, and you hosted a webinar a while back with Shannon from Bounce Patrol, and the knowledge that woman has when it comes to YouTube and just the online creation space is unbelievable. Like, this is her full-time gig, and she's super committed. So yeah, I can see that for sure. So what's next for you guys? What's next for Mark and Tina?
Well, I've just done 2022, so I'm completely sorted. I know exactly what's happening from now right until the end of next year.
So you've done a 12-month plan, have you?
Yeah, it's all sorted. It was so liberating, and I feel so much more clarity having that plan in place now.
My 12-month plan was easy. I got a job on a tour.
Not really. I actually fit your life into the plan.
That's true.
So we've got Courage on Camera. The mastermind launches in February next year, and it'll be running 2 times next year. There's some more mentoring programs, so there'll be more of our Business Accelerate comes out next year.
Yeah.
The Succeed program.
I turn 50 next year, so one of my bucket list things is to write a book. So that's on the agenda for next year. So yeah, it's just going to be a really. And we'll be spending a bit of time in New Zealand because Mark's doing quite a bit of touring in New Zealand. So I'm hoping that we'll actually get on lots of planes, do some more traveling, and have a bit of fun in 2022.
I want to get her to Italy because she's never been, and she's an opera singer, and that's just not right.
Go to Italy. It'd be nice. Maybe not.
Yeah. I think any travel would be nice at this point.
Yeah, that's right.
Guys, by the way, you've got a chapter in the Women Changing the World with the Oz Mumpreneur Network, don't you, as well?
No, I don't.
I saw you on something to do with that.
Yeah, that's right. I'm speaking on Friday week. And doing a session on creating money on demand. So
yay,
that's going to be fun.
You like money on demand. That's nice. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. If people would like to find you, where's the best place for them to find you online?
Probably on Instagram, and I have the weirdest handle. It's Tina La, Tina Lah. So it's a little bit of mixture of Tina and Lala. Or the website. My website's probably the best way to reach out, which is tinaharris.com.au.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, you guys. I honestly, I think you guys are amazing, and I've really enjoyed having you on the show. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much, Jo.
Take care. Bye.
Goodbye.
If you enjoyed listening and would like to hear more, be sure to click subscribe. If you're really feeling the love, share us with your friends. To work with me or to simply find out more about the magic of creativity, arts and business, head to my website, josephinelancuba.com, and you can find me on socials. I also have a book that I've co-written with a bunch of amazing entrepreneurial women called The Women Changing the World. And you can grab a copy of that at josephinelancuba.com/books. Thanks for listening.